Welcome back to the Band Guide. I'm your band guy, Colin, and this is another video in the 5-minute GarageBand Expert series where I'm bringing you 30 tips and tricks for mixing and recording in GarageBand in 30 days. Today, I want to talk about what is truly the secret to getting a great recording, and that's mic placement. Mic placement determines so much about how our recordings sound, and it's such an easy thing to change that we should always be playing with it to get the best recording possible. If you get the right mic placement on your source, you're going to get the fullness, you're going to get the cuttiness, the bitiness of the recording that you want. It's huge. Now, the thing about mic placement is that there's limitless options of how we can place our mics. I don't want you to be bogged down by that, to feel like, well, there's too many options, I'm not even going to try anything else, or I'm going to play with every single thing and I'm never going to end up finishing a track. Limit yourself with what mic placement options you have. So with mic placement, first of all, let me just say, all of this, you need to have already thought about what the room noise is like in your room. And I don't mean like literally the sounds in your room. I mean the reverberations that you might be getting that might be picked up in your mic. So if you're recording a vocal, how much of your room sound reverberating from your singing is also ending back up in the mic. You want to minimize that as much as you can. In a professional studio, they're going to try to get some room noise because they've tailor fit their studios to sound perfect. We don't necessarily have that luxury in a home studio, so we want to do the opposite. We want to get as little room noise as we can, and then we want to use professional reverbs inside GarageBand to kind of bring back some of that natural space sound to our recordings. So think about that first, but that's not even what we're talking about today. That's just acoustic treatment, or just having a lot of soft surfaces, or just being really, really close with your mic. And so for example, a guitar amp, if you have your mic right up on that guitar amp, it's not necessarily going to pick up a lot of room noise. Now, considering all of that, we need to start moving into mic placement, actual mic placement. Where does the mic sit on the source that we're recording? So with that, there's two things to consider. What mic is going to be the best mic to use, and then where should it sit on the actual source? So if you have multiple mics, this is certainly the first part of the consideration. But even if you're just using a GarageBand amp, like we're going to be talking about here in just a moment, you have several different mic options that all sound a little bit different that you could use to get the source. So first, find kind of just a general good place, a place that's kind of right in the middle ground that you've recorded before, you know it sounds all right, and then switch back between your different mic options. Find the one that sounds best initially, just in that middle ground mic placement where you think it will probably work pretty well. Listen back, record just a little bit, listen back at each different place, or if you're recording with the amp, just switch between each. And just limit yourself to kind of what you already think are going to be your top 3 mic options. And then decide whichever's best and go with it. Don't think too long about this. Decide what sounds best and go with it. Then we want to be thinking about mic placement. So for example, on a electric guitar, on your guitar cab, if you move closer to the cone, it's going to be brighter. It's going to have a lot more of that high end. If you move away to the edge of the cone, it's going to be a lot darker. It's not going to have nearly as much bright end. It's not going to cut through in the same way, but it will be a little bit fuller. If you move closer, you're going to get more proximity effects. You'll get more low end. If you move away, you're going to have less low end because you don't have quite as much of that proximity effect. Think about all these things before you even go into recording. Think, what do I want this to sound like? What is the right tone for this recording? And then go after that goal. Go after what you want with that mic placement. So if you want a really bright, bitey guitar, move it really close to the cone. And then try a little bit closer in to get a little bit more fullness, or back a little bit. And then pick one other place. So have two mic options two mic placement options that you're thinking about. Try both. Just record a little bit or just listen a little bit in the context of the mix. Move off to the side, try a slightly different placement, and then just go back and forth between those two. Figure out which sounds better to you, and then go with it. Then you're going to have more confidence moving forward that you have the best mic placement. On an acoustic guitar, it could be something similar. You want more body, move it closer to the sound hole, or turn it closer to the sound hole. If you want more brightness and more of the strumming sound, point it closer to the 12th fret. You have options here. So first you need to learn a little bit about what individual mic placement will benefit each individual source, but you can also just do that with your ears. Try out a few different things and listen to how they sound. Let's jump into this example. I'm going to show you how I would do this with this example. So this example here, we have this DI guitar just running into a GarageBand amp. Higher, higher. Just a quick note. This amp right here was an actual orange amp in a studio. This right here is a DI into the GarageBand amp. That sounds great, right? That already sounds awesome. And that's a GarageBand amp, so you can do it in GarageBand. An aside, but just a reminder that you can make great sounding music in GarageBand. You have access to so much awesome stuff right here for free. Okay, so we have this amp sound. First thing we want to do is figure out our mic placement, or our mic choice. So we kind of just have a general placement. It's kind of in the middle here, just off the cone. What we want to do is just bring up the volume in the context of the mix a little bit. And then we just want to pick one other mic. So we're just going to switch back and forth between two mics and see which one we like better. So I think on this recording, the 87 is this condenser is a good option because it kind of has that clarity, that brightness. I want to try 57 too, a dynamic. So let's just listen to this, switch over. Kind of like that 57. It just has a little bit more bitiness to it. It sounds really, really good. Okay, so now we've decided on a mic. Let's take this mic and let's try two different placements. So I'm gonna bring this volume down just a little bit and let's try two different placements on this mic. So this first place I think is a smart place. It's kind of just off. It's very middle ground. That's gonna be our first location. We don't need a super bright tone on this guitar. And then the second place I want to try, I think is gonna be just kind of right on the cone, but really close to get a little bit more of that proximity effect. Let's see these two, and we'll just go back and forth between the two and decide which we like better. Higher, higher, oh, I'll take you higher, higher, oh my love, higher, higher. I like this best. All right, and now, even though that was the first place we already had it, I think this is the best place. I have more confidence in that decision now because I've tried out something else and I know that I like this better. So, two places, figure out your mic choice, then pick two places, try each, go back and forth, and then go with it. Don't spend forever on this, but do play with it. Do try different things. Now, if you're serious about getting a great sounding recording in GarageBand, I'm sure you're serious about getting a great sounding mix in GarageBand. I've put together a free 6-step checklist to a pro mix in GarageBand. You can download it completely free from the link in the description below. Be sure to pick that up. It will really help you get a professional sounding mix for free inside GarageBand. If this video is helpful, be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you tomorrow with another video.